All right, guys, good morning. Good morning. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of Gar Capital. Thanks for taking the time this morning to join me every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the YouTube channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to turn on the notifications icon, the little bell, so you don't miss any of our videos. We do a Morning Note every 9 a.m. when the market is open, and then we do a market recap on Saturdays. That is recorded. Again, we go over all our trades. So glad to have you on board this morning. Let's get straight to it. Around the horn, Dow futures down 3. NASDAQ down about 0.19% off its lows. The S&P is rather flat. Again, that's off its lows. 44.94, 1868 on the Russell, up 0.20%. 10-year Treasury yields. Interesting. There was a note here yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the blog. If you guys haven't joined the blog, I've been putting all the news and information you need to know really since 6 a.m. this morning. I'd love to do it. I'd love to be up early to go ahead and give you guys all the information you need. I sent this over last night around 8:45. Apparently, there was an issue with the real-time data of the bond yields. You could see 4.397. That was the high. We're at 43.53. So here was a note I found quite interesting in terms of yields. And here it is. During last night, there was a strange spike in yields on U.S. Treasury notes and bonds of different magnitudes across several maturities. Again, I got this alert on my phone, so I wanted to make sure and send that because we saw a yield spike, and again, I saw S&P futures, equity futures remain pretty flat, actually green. So that was interesting. Usually the bond market is moving that way, bond futures. Obviously, there's some kind of headline, and I scoured while I was watching Sunday Night Football. Dolphins, congratulations, great game. So let's go dive into it, because it says here, while such moves can be quite significant, like I just stated, and spell out disaster, first thing I'm thinking about is some kind of, some kind of issue globally. So something overseas that happened. Who knows? But that would be a reason. But interesting enough, if there was bad news, if anything, bonds would get bid, meaning they would get bought up, because the U.S. Treasury bonds are pretty much the safest security on earth. I mean, the assumption is, since we just print the money to pay it back. So again, let's get back to it. Here's the theories. An incorrect or fake print, that's most likely. I didn't see any information from Reuters or Bloomberg stating that it was faulty. Personally, I was researching the Twitter and everything like that, and on articles on the apps. Here's the next one. The start of a move related to a potential unfolding or triggering of credit event. That could be something like a black swan event. Some issue where you get some kind of panic in terms of, just cash me out at any cost. Actions of foreign holders of U.S. Treasuries, maybe, a foreign country. The biggest foreign holder of U.S. Treasuries is Japan. Interesting enough, a lot of people think that, foreign investors control most of the debt that we own. It's actually the American people. The taxpayers are the biggest bondholders. We owe ourselves money, interesting enough. Some major geopolitical movement, again, we talked about that right now. And again, some Fed intervention. I don't know how some Fed intervention would be where spikes go up, other than them dumping treasuries on a Sunday night, which seems quite unlikely. But again, that was something that stood out to me. Again, very, very important to look at. This week, we have the Fed reporting or doing their Fed decision with the actual press conference on Wednesday. They are not the only ones. You have some countries in Africa that have it, the BOE, which is in England. You also have, I guess, I'm looking at Bank of Japan, Philippines, Thailand, those names there. Is it time? No, Singapore, Brazil as well. So we definitely have some movement in terms of foreign currency this week, as you have a central bank focus. Another big part I wanted to talk about was the expectation of the Federal Reserve rate hikes, if there's any. So let me go ahead and give you that breakdown. Let's see here. I know I went ahead and sent it. Here we go. Fed futures price in 1% chance versus 10% week over week. So we're at a 1% chance that the Fed will raise 25 basis points on Wednesday. The chance for a hike in November also went down 25% versus 50% last week. Focus will stay on Fed's dot plot for any guidance or rate cuts in 2024. So the expectation is no rate hikes. I kind of agree there. Looks like we had a pause before, and then they went ahead and raised it again. So this isn't anything new. Again, a pause here. That's expected, at least in terms of the Fed, in terms of rate hikes. The question here is, how is that going to affect markets? Did we already price that in? And we started slicing a lot of different tech names, like a Microsoft. That sliced down a channel. So again, I'm looking at Microsoft for additional weakness. I had calls last week, 340s. I talked about that this weekend. Apple, seems that we had some news in terms of demand for the new iPhone. So again, Apple's bidding a little bit here, but again, still the Nasdaq's flat. Tesla is reporting, or there's a report on Bloomberg that the Saudis want to build a factory, a Tesla factory, gigafactory built in Saudi Arabia. Very interesting. I'm waiting for a 280 break for more upside, but in terms of right now, there's not much going on. Again, it is a Fed week, so we need to be rather careful. Semiconductors are taking a hit. That $100 level on AMD might be defended. I'm a little gun shy on this one for the simple fact that if we go on the daily, it's right there, 99.57. That is the lows that we had in August, and then they bid that up all the way back to 111. So we could start getting into a little bit oversold conditions. That 100 psychologically satisfying level, again, 94.60. I'm kind of looking and see if we start getting to 96, where we start looking at a price to get to start adding some AMD. Again, we want to get a good price. Around 100, I've been saying, is that magical number. Again, I don't know if the buyers are going to defend it. Right now, the stock is down, but again, in a Fed week, we might even get a lower price. Who knows, depending on the expectation or the reaction. Expectation is no hike. If they decide to hike, what happens? If they said no more hikes, what happens? Right in a neutral place in terms of the S&P, pretty flat. I don't expect much. If anything, weakness to the downside on tech is what I'm looking for. AMD's starting to slide a little bit here. That was part of the weekly watch list. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. I posted that on the Discord here. Microsoft below 327.37. I'm targeting the 325 to 320 puts. Netflix below 395 or 394.84. I'm targeting the 385 to 380 puts. And AMD below 99.57. We're not there yet. Targeting 96 to 97 in terms of the put side. But I want to be careful with AMD. If that breaks, that could bounce at any minute. So I want to get maybe 20%. I'll let the runner do its thing. I said that on the watch list and charts yesterday as well. So again, last week kind of leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth, obviously with reversals. So we need to be extremely careful. But I am leaning more towards the short side. This week tends to be a weaker seasonally week for the S&P. And again, like I said here, I'm more of an emphasis to the downside. Let me see if I can get the actual seasonality. Here we go. Let's find a lot of stuff that we've been talking about. I just have to scroll, so bear with me a second. Here we go. Pre-election seasonality. All right, pre-election year, we know that. September, we're right here on the 18th towards the other side of the month. Expect a little more weakness, and then we'll possibly get a jump into October. And then we got one more slam. One more slam, the expectation is in terms of seasonality. So October could be added weakness. Could we be starting to get down there? Again, I still think we go higher towards the end of the year. VIX seasonality is up this for the month of September. That's the expectation. So 15,284 on NQ, I'm watching carefully. 44.75, I'm watching very carefully on the S&P. It's starting to look pretty heavy. And again, you need a reason to buy here. Remember, we talked about that a couple months ago. What's the real reason? And again, we're not cheap enough quite yet. The only way we can find out where stocks are priced correctly is when interest rates go down. If the Fed pauses, maybe they'll give us some reprieve. But if they hike, then you need to reprice these stocks because they might be a little too expensive, especially when you can start getting, if we get a rate hike, you're talking about maybe 5%, 5.5%, 5.25% on CDs, savings accounts, who knows? And again, it's all a fight for capital at the end of the day. Stocks are great. If you have in your portfolio, no problem. Long term, you're chilling. But again, short term, as a trader, right now, you need to figure out where is the flows going to go. Why would I buy expensive tech stocks? And they are expensive relative to history and a PE basis. That's not everything. But again, it is important to know that Right now, do stocks really look attractive when you can get 5% or 4.5% just sitting on cash? I don't think that's a bad deal right now. I think you could just do that. You're not at levels yet. Remember October, we're expecting more of a pullback. Maybe we get a little cheaper when sentiment drops and everyone thinks the world is over. That's probably what we're looking for. But as of right now, we're not there yet. Friday was ugly. Do we get a continuance to Monday? I've seen these bounces before. We had Tuesday, we broke down, if you guys remember, and we bounced out like a bat out of hell at 44.99. So stay frosty, everybody. Again, be patient. Let the market come to you. Cynthia's Boost of Motivation says, hey, good morning, Carlos. I'm thinking of putting a call on SoFi. What is your opinion? I'm buying a few for long term as well. If you want to buy a call on SoFi, depending on what your in terms of the strike, what your expectations are, and your time frame. If you're talking about the end of the year, okay, fair enough. You are above the 50, depends on the strike. If you're talking about a $10 strike, $9.50 strike, it just depends on what you're looking for at the end of the day. So again, take a look at the volume this morning. If you're holding 858, which is the 200-day on SoFi, the problem on SoFi, you have a death cross. So if anything, the expectation is lower on SoFi just for the fact that you have this death cross. Excuse me, the death cross here is in the red. My apologies. No death cross, just the 20 below the 50. Hold the 50, we're above the 20. Scratch what I just said. That's why we're live. SoFi is actually still okay. I thought as I put my cursor here on top of the 20, it turned red. I'm like, whoa, that's the 200-day? No, the 200-day is at $6.80. My apologies. So I don't hate that setup, Cynthia. The problem is I want to see the volume first. And you're probably getting at a point now in terms of SoFi calls pretty cheap. Again, sentiment is rather neutral, not bullish, not too bearish, but we can see that the NASDAQ is kind of pulling back. You can see SoFi is down pre-market about 4 cents. Let's see what we get. Is Peloton a falling knife? Peloton, let's take a look at it. Like most of these high beta names, Football TV, for example, all broke down. What you're looking for Peloton is either just to trade it when the thing soars, like these meme names go crazy when rates go lower, or you're looking for someone to acquire them. The only expectation in terms of options for this company would be a reverse stock split, possibly. I doubt it. Look for acquisition, an acquisition partner. So hard to short this name here, especially since you're down so much. And then you also have the expectation of some kind of major investor, hedge fund manager, buys into a stake in Peloton, shakes up the management, and kind of fixes the company. Kind of tough to kind of predict that here. You kind of want to see a little bit of a bounce, at least to see some kind of volume into the name to the upside before you do anything. Their earnings was a gap down. You still have that upside gap to fill. You got to get above 6 before you even talk about doing anything with Peloton. Pretty ugly. Good morning, Carlos. What do you think about IWM and the head and shoulders on the daily, holding the neckline? I think it's a good short below it. IWM, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. There's actually a nice trend line that we've broken below, but we also have a downward gap at 176.26. IWM has not been easy to short, has not been easy to go long, but I see what you're seeing here. You're holding that neckline. Break 181.61. I'm looking for further weakness. I'm looking at 176.26 for a gap fill on the daily. You may want to buy time on that one, but we'll go ahead and see what we get. But yeah, it doesn't look pretty, but you're at least above the 200-day. And IWM is green this morning. Russell is green. So we'll see what we get. I mean, I expect just more chop if anything, and that's what I'm a little worried about. I don't mind if the market tanks. Give me some continuation. We could ride that. But this kind of chop action is so difficult to trade. You're better off just watching. And Cynthia says, thank you, Carlos. Have an awesome day. You as well. Thank you so much for being part of the channel and being with me. Let's go and take a look at Qs. Qs. You can see the lows here, right around 390, 369.18. How about if we break 368.71? If we break that below, that is the lows that we just had pre-market. If we break below that, then you could start talking about 365 puts, maybe. Let's take a look at the daily. Did we break anything? You are below the 20. That's not a good sign. You may have support here right around 360 or so. So 365 puts, 360 puts around that area, maybe 365 puts would be best. That's going to be on my radar as well, and NASDAQ futures. But we're starting to bounce a little bit, and that's kind of frustrating. So place your alerts, wait for the alerts to come to you. Try not to, kind of push the envelope here. No need. I say that, and then ding, ding, you get alerts. That happens, but you got to be decisive too. So again, unless alerts start breaking or we start seeing anything crazy in terms of volume, we're going to play it pretty close to the chest on this one, especially for today. Again, I'm kind of either hoping for some kind of move. Again, I'm expecting more downside today since the VIX is spiking up. Dollar not helping that cause to more downside as that is down, but yields may be an issue for stocks moving forward. That means weaker tech. That's what we're going to be watching this today. Have a great rest of your morning. I will see you guys tomorrow for the next morning note. I will be on Discord as always. I will catch you guys on the blog. Have a great rest of your Monday. Go Cowboys. Great win. Great defense. Love it, love it, love it. Got a doubleheader on Monday night too. Can't wait to watch. I love football. I love football season. Have a great